Hey there, Crystal here. This is going to be the first time I'm actually recording a voiceover to one of my videos, so bear with me, and if you like this sort of content, feel free to let me know in the comments. Thank you. Have you ever come across a hunter and thought, man, I really want to punch them in the face with no consequences? Well, this build lets you do exactly that. And while this build is pretty funny, I can't promise that you'll be a walking tank who can just blindly rush into the enemy's backline, but it will allow for some very funny interactions and zone control. Let's get into the specifics. My personal favorite Titan PvP exotic, ACD feedbacks, perks, stores armor charges for you already. 90% of the time if you punch first and they punch back, they will die. ACD feedbacks works like this. Melee hits grant armor charge, and you take less melee damage while you have armor charge. Taking melee damage causes you to emit a burst of damaging arc energy that jolts targets, consumes the armor charges, and deals more damage based on the number of stacks consumed. With this build, you'll be able to get 5 armor charges off of a single shoulder charge, and when you punch them and they punch back, the jolt will pop off and everyone around you will die. The perks to this exotic is that it rewards hyper-aggressive playstyles, but it lacks in the style department. For our choice of super, it really comes down to personal choice. I use Twilight Axe for the extra pickups or Blade Fury so I can lock down zones, and Thunder Crash is super strong in groups. As for our abilities, I personally use Towering Barricade for cover. Jump, you can kind of use whatever feels best to you. Hammer Strike allows for you to dip out fast or initiate fights. I typically use it as an initiation tool to 1, kick them in the face, and 2, gives you 5 orbs of power and procs your ACD feedback if they punch you right after you kick them. As far as our grenade, I personally use Shackle Grenades, which allows me to suspend enemies, throws off their aim, and allows you to be far away and do stupid shit like this. As for our aspects, Dranger's Lash, putting down a barricade sends out a line of strand energy that shackles the enemy, which feeds back into the artifact mods and our aspects. I also run Knockout. Critically wounding enemies increases your melee range and damage. Defeating targets triggers health regen and amplified. As far as our fragments, Facet of Courage. Arc, Solar, or Void abilities deal increased damage to targets inflicted with darkness debuffs. This plays back into the Shackle and Shoulder Charge. Facet of Balance. Rapidly defeating targets provide melee/grenade depending on the type of damage they're killed with. I use this to help build my Transcendence meter faster. Facet of Sacrifice. Arc, Solar, or Void buff gives darkness energy on ability final blows. Facet of Devotion. Enemies inflicted with slow, freeze, suspend, or sever debuffs grant bonus light energy for Transcendence. Facet of Purpose. Grabbing an Orb of Power gives the affiliated type of boost depending on your super. Solar gives you Restoration, Void gives you an Overshield, Stasis gives you Frost Armor, Arc gives you Bolt Charge, and Strand gives you Woven Mail. With the aspects and fragments out of the way, let's get into the real reason this build cooks and the mods we're running. On our helmet, we run Font of Wisdom. Collecting an Orb of Power gains an extra armor charge for Intellect, as well as a targeting mod for both of our weapons. On our arms, we're running a Focusing Strike. Powered melee blows give class ability. A Momentum, grenade damage gives melee cooldown. And a Heavy-handed. Powered melee final blows gives orbs of power. For our chest, we are running 2 charged up. Running this will give you 6 available armor charges that can be held. For our leg mods, we'll be running Innervation, which reduces grenade cooldown each time you pick up an orb of power, along with Recuperation, replenishes health each time you pick up an orb of power. Alongside that, we'll be running a single stacks on stacks. Picking up an orb of power grants you 1 additional stack of armor charges, meaning that for every single orb of power that you get, you'll get 2 for the price of 1. For our mark, we will be running Outreach, reduces melee charge cooldown when using a class ability. A Bomber, it's the same exact thing except for grenades. Fonta Restoration, this can be changed to whatever you're liking. I use it to 1, hold armor charges that I can't use, and 2, increase my restoration at tier 7 when I grab an Orb of Power, allowing me to get back into the fight faster and because the other options are not detrimental to me. You could sub this out with a Reaper if you wanted, or Time Dilation. Now that we have all of our armor mods out of the way, I want to just take a second and look at the artifact mods, though I would like to note that this build is 100% runnable without using any mods from your artifact. So this entire build can be played without them. The artifact mod just gives it an extra boost. Depending on the weapons that you're using, I would suggest one of these two. Either Volatile Marksman, Rapid Void Precision Hits and Final Blows grant volatile rounds. Or alternatively, if you're running a strand weapon, you could use Unraveling Orbs. Picking up an Orb of Power or a Tangle grants your strand weapons unraveling rounds. Since this build uses a lot of suspends and tangles, I like to run Vile Weave. Targets hit by your tangle are severed and tangle pickups are reduced. We also pair this with Disruptor Spike. Improves the effects of Exhaust and Sever, lowering enemies' damage output. Played back into the ACD feedbacks, I run Photonic Flare. Defeating an exhausted or severed target with arc damage releases a blinding burst. This is good if you have melee shackled and you punch them to kill. Since I've been using Void Hand Cannon, I use Maligned Harvest. Rapidly applying Volatile causes your next instance of Void weapon damage to create a weakening burst. For our tangles, I run Horde Shuttle. Damaging unraveled enemies send out a Threadling on occasion. More minions to clean up those kills. In addition to my Void Hand Cannon, I've also been running around with a Glaive, so personally I put on Nobel. Rapid Glaive melee final blows grant special ammo. However, blocking damage with glaives increases the melee damage to targets. To pair with our hand cannon again, I run Void Flux. Defeating weakened targets with a Void weapon applies Volatile to nearby targets. Basically, we are going to loop that Volatile if possible with Void Flux and Volatile Marksman. Since this build relies on Strand a lot, we are also going to run 2 Shreds. Dealing sustained damage to severed targets unravels them. Defeating a severed target creates a hotspot of Strand energy, granting Woven Mail to nearby allies for a short duration. With all the main stuff for the build out of the way, I just wanted to show off a little bit of how the build works and give you guys some gameplay. So without further ado, I hope you guys enjoy and thanks for hanging around this long.